This episode is brought to you by Jay-Z and his legendary quote, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman."
Welcome to the Stephan Dyer Podcast, my people.
Hello, my people. Welcome to episode 2. My guest today is Bwanka, athlete, realtor, entrepreneur, and growth coach. My growth coach from Continual Growth, a company that helps you achieve happiness through growth. In simple terms, you have bi-weekly meetings and they help you develop positive habits so that you can reach your goals. It's not a coincidence that the last 2 years, where I've been coached by Bwanka, have been the most productive years of my entire life. His story is brilliant and fascinating. I mean, he really turned it around and we really got vulnerable. There were tears, mostly from my son Liam in the back, but hey, this just goes to show that this is good television, recorded live through the wire, as my friend Kanye would say. Quick favor, if you like the podcast episodes, let's continue the conversation on Instagram at Stephan Dyer and at Bwanka. Also, if you want, leave us a review so that I know what you like or what you don't like, and we can continue to make the Stephan Dyer Podcast even better. All right, my people, let's get it poppin'. Please help me welcome the main man, Bwanka! Welcome to the Stephan Dyer Podcast. I got Bwanka, athlete, growth coach, friend, realtor, unbreakable, unmistakable, highly capable. The main man. How are you, brother?
Okay. I love the intro, man. I'm doing incredible. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's good to be on the other side of the table, and I know we're going to be laughing today.
Oh, yes, man. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. I was thinking about you today as I was in the bathroom with a box of Kleenex. No, I'm kidding. No, I was thinking about you because it is fitting that you are the second ever guest on the Stephan Dyer Podcast because you are my growth coach. Continual Growth, hashtag Continual Growth, hashtag Growth Challenge, hashtag sexy guys, hashtag everything. And I was just checking the email before we started this, and you have been my growth coach for almost 2 years.
Okay. Consistency over everything.
Over everything. January 8th was our first growth coach session. And for those of you who are listening and asking what does that mean, well, you know, like a life coach or like a relationships coach, but this is all of it. If I have problems with my wife, I call Bwanka. No. Bwanka is my growth coach. So basically, he helps me achieve my goals. He keeps me accountable. He makes sure that I'm consistent. If I don't do anything, he's on my case. And probably top 2 or 3 people in my life in the last 2 years because he's been directly responsible for helping me do the big things that I've accomplished over the last 2 to 3 years, which is essentially the best years of my life. And I really admire you. And I also admire the fact that you have your own growth coach. So you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. Shout out to Stir, the Sturminator.
Hey.
The Stirrific.
Stir Rubik's.
The Masturbator.
Stir Runner. He's got all the nicknames. But no, I appreciate everything that you said about the growth coaching and how you've grown. It's been incredible to see you grow.
In height.
But at the end of the day, it's like you're the one who does all the work, right? I mean, someone tells you what to do, but at the end of the day, you go out there, you do it, you make it happen. So you gotta give yourself a pat on the back too.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was seeing the PDF that you sent me after our first session, and you were giving me my daily routine schedule, and it was wake up at 5:45, And that was hard for me, but I finally achieved it. I was already doing it because I read the Miracle Morning, and then drink water, journal, meditate, go to the gym with my wife, shower, and I was done everything by 8 a.m. And to me, this was like a huge win, and I achieved it. But I remember when I first called you, because I saw an Instagram story, and you were doing the 4:44.
The 4-hour morning.
The 4-hour morning, which is getting up at 4:44, and Bwanka was basically meditating, journaling, going to the gym, getting a PhD, everything before 9 a.m. This guy was insane. So in my growth journey, as I've spoken in the past, all the high achievers, they got mentors. And I was like, who here in my immediate circle of friends is someone that I look up to for sure and can challenge me? And I was like, this is Bwanka. So I called you and I'm like, hey, I want you to be my mentor. And then you sold me Grant Cardone style. In about 5 seconds, I was already your growth coaching client. What was your growth journey like, and where did it start? Because I've heard from the crew, Z, Stir, Carlito, and Paul P, that you weren't getting up at 4 or 5 a.m.
No. There's no way, no way, no how. I mean, my life, I've gone through like so many different phases in my life. But I feel like it's a lot of growth has happened. But no, I used to be the guy who was getting up at noon, at 2 a.m. I was getting up. I would not get up unless I had to get up. There needed to be a reason. I needed to go to work. I needed to go meet somebody. I needed to I didn't have phone calls back then. I just needed to do something. That's the only reason why I would want to get up.
I remember the guys told the story about you you told the story that if you were late to catch the bus, you would not run towards the bus stop. You would just like slowly cruise down the street.
No. Listen. Okay, remember you said athlete in the beginning. So I use that to my advantage, okay?
Run.
So, when I see that bus, I'll run. When I was younger, I remember in high school, I would chase the bus all the time. And I had like, I could cut it off, right? So it would go past my place. I would tell my little sister to look out the window because she was in like public school still, so she didn't have to go till later. And I'd be like, Julie, look out the window. Let me know when the bus is coming. And if she says the bus came, I'd grab my bag and I'll start running. And hopefully it has to sit at this light, and I'll just cut across and run, and hopefully I can catch it. But there was many days where I had to chase down the bus.
I believe, because in the 4-hour morning, oh my God, that time I went to Bwanka's house to do the 4-hour morning. So part of it is you meditate, you journal, you drink water, you read. This is at like 5 a.m. And then at 5:50 a.m., you go for a run. So Bwanka is like, hey, do you work out? I'm like, I'm okay. I played soccer. Do you run? I'm like, yeah, I run. The guy hadn't even finished asking the question. He was already down the block. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like chasing this guy. Like after like a minute, I gave up. And how long was that run? Like 11 minutes or something?
Yeah, so I try to keep it short, 10 minutes, but it's fast.
10 minutes, and he does a 5K run in 10 minutes.
It's not 5K. He's boosting.
And I'm like, whoa, this guy is for real. Then we went to the gym, and I couldn't walk for 8 months. And then I'm like, well, to each his own. I'm just going to do my own thing in terms of the gym, because you can't just go 0 to 100. And that's the thing that I learned a lot about you and Z and Carlito and the boys and Stir, because you have to be consistent and you have to honor your journey, honor your intentions, like Stir says. One of the biggest takeaways that I always share with people that you taught me is that I wanted to go to the gym or exercise regularly because it's a healthy thing to do, and it's healthy for the mind. And I didn't even go once a week at the beginning, you remember? Mm-hmm. And in fact, we met at the gym in 2015.
Yeah.
And You told me that you thought of me like someone who just went to the gym and talked
Yeah,
to
he was a joker. This guy, I saw him. He would just come in there. They'd be hanging out. Do a little here, a little there. Camera comes on. Oh, okay, here we go. And you start. I don't know. You're doing flips. You were just having fun doing the workout, but you were serious. If you want to work out, at the end of the day, you can have fun doing it, but you gotta be kind of serious.
Yeah, Carlito brought me to the gym, and it really helped me out. And just by training with people like you and Carlito, who are super strong and consistent, it brought my game to the next level. But going back to what I learned is that at the beginning, I wanted to work 4 times a week, which was my ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I worked out 0 times a week.
Yeah.
Or 1, struggled, never consistent. And you told me, okay, let's go to the gym. So you were like, this is what you're going to do. Go to the gym once a week for 4 weeks. And then when you achieve that, you bump it up to 2 times a week for 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 times a week for 4 weeks. And then 4 times a week for 4 weeks. And I got it. And it was very consistent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that happens with a lot of people. Like, you want to, instead of going from like 1 to 2, you want to go 1 to 10.
Yeah.
So it's you have to prove to yourself that you can do 1. Once you prove to yourself you can do 1, you have that confidence. You start believing in yourself, and then you go to 2.
Yes.
You get more confidence, believe in yourself that you can do 2 because you've done it, and then 3, and then from 3 it's easy to go to 4.
Darren Hardy in The Compound Effect, which is a book you recommended to me initially, because your growth coaches also recommend books to you, and he also has an agenda that I use all the time, which is the Living Your Best Year Ever journal, which helps to document and monitor your habits. But in The Compound Effect, which is the 2 books come together if you ordered it on Amazon or his website, it says that you can't really go from 0 to 100 overnight, because let's say that if in your fitness journey from 0 to 100 you're at a level 10. But you're like, no, man, I'm going to Cancun next month, so I'm going to work out super hard. I'm going to get a 6-pack, and I'm going to look incredible for the videos and the pictures in the club. And guess what happens? You do it. You actually achieve it. You go, you get the 6-pack, you look incredible in Cancun. You come back and...
Yeah, that's where you get hurt.
And then you go back to 0, because it's not sustainable. So... that's one thing that I've learned from the Continual Growth community, that it takes time, but it's also okay, because you don't want to achieve the goal tomorrow and then fall off for the rest of your life.
And I think it's good you talk about that book and even the Living Your Best Year Ever, that book. I remember when we first started, you had got it, and it was probably pretty close to the beginning of the year.
Yes.
And at the end of the year, I asked you, I'm like, was that your best year ever? And you said it was.
Hands down. And I think that book is helpful, but having an accountability person, which you are to me, and Stir is to you, for example, because he's your coach, is incredible, because let's say I told you that I was going to do something for next class, for next session, and we have an understanding. We shook on it, and then I don't do it.
Yeah.
But if I don't have I said I'm going to do this, but if I don't have an accountability partner, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad for 5 seconds, and then that's it,
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's all just comes down to the book. I'm saying you decided on this is what you want to do, and then you used all the tools.
For sure.
You got a coach, like all the things that you needed to do to make it the best year of your life. But at the end of the day, this is what I always tell people about, like, growth coaching too, because people are always worried about, like, I want to make the decision, this, that, whatever. Like, all a growth coach does is just, like, it's even like a basketball coach. Like, if you look at, like, LeBron James, he's probably the best player in the world in basketball, and he has a shooting coach, he has a fitness coach, he has his actual, like, coach, he has all the assistant coaches, so he has so many people telling him what to do all the time. But at the end of the day, he's the one who's gonna make the decision, and he's the one who's gonna do everything. He's the one who has to do all the work that they're telling him to do, and he's the one who gets the benefits and the glory and everything from it.
Yeah. It's a combination of things, definitely. And another thing that we've talked about a lot is that in the book, it gives you categories for you to be able to get a self-assessment of your life. And those categories are the ones that I've used in my Kanban board, which is like business, personal development, physical, relationships, spiritual, financial, lifestyle, and family. And we talk a lot about these in these sessions. It's kind of hard to balance it out because when you move around or you switch jobs, everything shuffles. I know that, and I want to talk to you about your childhood. So you got a Rwandan family, but you were born in London, Ontario, the capital of the world.
Yeah.
Or as we like to call it, Londombia.
Londombia, that's what the Latino people call it, also known as the Forest City. It's definitely way different than Toronto, because Toronto is concrete jungle. But you don't even really notice that until you move here and you see like there's no trees and grass anywhere.
Yes, I've been there many times to do shows, and it looks like a nice place. You know, so you were born in 1961. That is incredible. And you graduated high school in 2003. It took you 40 years, man. No, I'm kidding. So you born and raised in London. You played basketball. You played football. And I know that you've had a pretty crazy journey after that. So what was it like? What did you do right after high school?
So during high school, I fucked myself over because all I cared about was sports. And I thought I was going to be, I was going to be a basketball player or something. Yeah, after LeBron James. He's also 6'8". I'm 5'9". So, the older I got, the more my dreams started fading away. And by the time I got to just the end of high school, I'm like, all right, well, I think I'm just like, I'm going to play somewhere in Canada, somewhere in Ontario. Like, I'll just be happy. I'll be happy with that. Like, it's this competition is a lot harder and higher than I thought when I was younger. But I never cared about school. I was like one of the worst students ever. I was just trying to get by. That's it.
Well, so sports and basketball were the only thing that excited you?
That's all I really cared about. Fitness was that's because I played sports.
Did you care about or like reading?
No.
So
TV.
Obviously nothing
TV.
about
Just TV. Just TV.
What shows did you watch?
When I was younger, everything.
Just watch
everything.
TV all
The TV
day?
was always on. Anytime I was like, if I was sitting down, the TV was on and I was watching it.
Did you play video games?
All the time.
What was your best game?
My best game when I was younger?
Yeah.
Man, I like the sports games. So
Like,
probably like 2K. 2K. I was nice at 2K.
did you ever play NFL
2K.
Game Day?
NFL, I played all the games. I wasn't a specialist at any of those ones, but 2K in my heyday, you better watch out.
And one of the things that I love about you is that the guys that you went to or that you met at London, so Z, Paul P, Stir, who from the crew today.
So all those guys you just named, we all played basketball together. We were on the same team.
And who was the best one on the team?
The best out of all of us, probably Paul P.
Oh, man, Paul P.
Paul was good. And there's also Waldo too. Waldo was younger, but when he was older, he was probably the best one.
Waldo?
Waldo. You know Waldo? You know Waldo.
Yeah. And then I remember because you took the class, the public speaking through comedy class of Malpensando, and Paul P did too. I remember you told me that when you first saw Paul P, or I don't know who said it, but that he was so strong.
Yeah, he was the same size he is now.
In like 8th grade.
Like people then when he was in 8th grade, people wanted to test him like before the game. Like, there's no way this guy is in the 8th grade.
Yeah, man. And then, he has an Instagram like his profile Instagram picture used to be him as a kid. And you can tell, like in his forehead, you can see the 6-pack. Like one of the things that I admire about him is that he hasn't had alcohol for like the last 5 years or something. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Okay, so you did You did basketball, nothing really motivated you.
So from because all I cared about was basketball and I hated school, I ended up going to school. Like I went to a school called Algoma University College in Sault Ste. Marie. That's like I was not happy there at all. But I went there to play basketball, and after a year, like I went. Also, I took accounting. After like
Mistake.
This was terrible. So I remember like the first week I got there, I'm like, so it always happened to me in the beginning of school. I'm like, I'm gonna do good. I'm gonna work hard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I just pay attention and I'll be good. So first week comes, I try a little bit. The homework takes me forever. Second week, I'm like, this guy on my team, he was in the class. I'm like, man, let me just copy. Let me copy your stuff. He let me copy. Third week, he's like, man, you can't copy me every time. You're not gonna learn it. I'm like, whatever. I stopped doing my work. By then, like halfway through the year, I was like almost about to fail, but I'm like, I still want to play basketball. So somehow I got to play second semester. I'm like, okay, let me switch over to something else. I switched to like arts. A guy on my team, he's like, man, come in music class. It's easy. I'm like, all right, let me take music class. Sounds like it's easy. I went into music class. It was not easy at all. It was like, there was a conductor or whatever, like the teacher was there and he was just teaching the history of music, and it was just, I'm like, this is even harder than accounting. So I didn't even make it through the whole basketball season. I think I made it till like right till the end, and I just realized, all right, well, my dream of playing basketball is pretty much done. School is not for me, and I even stayed like in the last 2 months. I should have just packed my bags and gone home, but I didn't want to be, a failure, dropout, whatever, even though I was. Yeah. So I packed my bags when school ended, I went home, and from there I just started working at a tire warehouse.
And then whenever you talk about the rigs in the Continual Growth podcast, I get so excited because I don't think I would even pass the interview. Like, they wouldn't need.
Oh yeah. The interview is you have to do a physical test for the interview.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go past through HR. I don't even know if there's HR. You sent me a video once, and it looks like one of the hardest jobs in the world.
It's not easy.
Is it? I think it's ranked like one of the most dangerous.
It's top 5, top 10 most dangerous jobs in the world. I had a couple close calls. You definitely like, you got to be careful.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you right now because it happened to me. When you mentioned the rigs the first time, as a Latino immigrant, I was Googling it as you said it. So I know a lot of my Mexican brothers and Latino friends here don't even know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So can you explain what rigs are?
Okay, so it's an oil rig, a drilling rig. They have them all over the world. In Canada, they're mostly in Alberta, BC. But basically what it is, you're drilling a hole. That's the goal of every time you're drilling a hole, you're drilling 4,000 meters down.
My Latinos are like, I like to drill holes. I like to drill holes. That's not that hard.
So basically what you got to do is you got to put these massive pipes into the ground. You fill them with like mud and this chemical that's called invert, and I had no clue how bad this chemical is for you. You get paid $40 a day just for working with this chemical.
$40 a day?
That's
not that much.
Hold on. There's all the other pay as well, but you also get $40 a day every day just because you're working with this chemical. And what they say is like, because it's gonna destroy your clothes, you can use that to get new clothes.
Wow.
So it's a very, very dirty job. Like there's probably no job as dirty as this. Like you get dirty, like every day, all day you're getting dirty, and it's very physical.
You were there from 2009 to 2014, almost like on and off, you said?
Yeah.
And what was the hardest job? I mean, what was the hardest part? Like, what was the worst day at the rigs?
The worst day, oh my God. Okay, the worst day is called tripping. So the first part about this is when you find out like someone. It starts at the top bosses and it trickles down, and yeah. I was like one of the lower guys because I was newer. So when you find out, hey, we're tripping today, get ready. That's when it starts right there. You're like, oh my God. And when you're tripping, that's basically like you're basically working out all day, getting dirty and wet, and you have old white guys just yelling at you the whole entire time. And it's just like the more wet you get, the angrier everybody gets, and it's loud, and it's not a fun job for sure. And the worst part is like, comes a time where it's like the sun starts coming down and you're like, yes, like we're gonna be done soon. You see the other crew pull up because the rig never stops 24 hours. So you work 12 hours. At 7 p.m. the other crew comes and changes you out. So the other crew comes, they take your place, and then you go back home, and then you dream about it. You don't go back home, you go back to the camp. So at the camp is like, it's just you and your crew, 6 people, and like whoever works there, the chefs and the people who just make sure everything stays clean. You go back and you're so tired, you take a shower, you eat, you go to sleep, and then you dream about it. And it's not dreams, it's nightmares. So you have nightmares about it, and then you wake up and because you use your hands the whole day, and your hands is like cramping the whole entire time. And then you drive to work, and the drive is like terrible. You're like, oh my God, I hope they're done. I hope they're done. And when you get there, you can see you can see how many pipes they pulled out or put back in, and you can kind of tell where they're at. And if you see something and you're like, oh man, we're gonna be doing it again today, it's back to that worst place ever. You're like, this is gonna be a terrible day.
The only thing I can compare that to mentally, I think it's my fraternity initiation.
Yeah, I heard those are tough.
Those are tough too, and you're like, oh my God, they're gonna come back. When is this gonna end? Blah, blah, blah. But you know it ends.
Yeah.
But at the rigs, you know that, I mean, it's your job, so you're there all weeks on end, months. What was the longest period that you were there?
35 days straight, 12 hours every day. I did it twice. So usually you just do 2 days, like 2 weeks at a time. So you go 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And one time it was in the winter time. I did 35 days straight. I did it twice. I did some 4-weekers, some 3-weekers. But the 35-day ones, those ones are terrible because you start with your crew, and then, you get to see a crew go home, and then you're there for 2 weeks, and then your crew is like, all right, peace out. We're going to go have fun on our time off. And you're like, all right, I'll just be here working.
Do you have an option, or you?
No, usually you choose it. So this is,
picked
no one forced me to do this. Yeah. And then, your crew comes back and you're like, wow, it's like I've been already here for 21 days. And now it's like I'm just starting after a week off. It's like you're just starting again. And then you have another 14 days. But it's...
I heard from you that a lot of people just quit or get fired. Like,
Very high turnover. Very high turnover. So first of all, when you get there, they're gonna ride you. Like they're gonna be on you. Like these are like, cause you're with your crew like all day, every day, and even a lot of these guys, even on their days time off, they're gonna hang out together. So they're already tight, and they're like, and you're new, and they're like,
and
yo,
you're not white.
Yeah, and you're not white. So they're like, you're fucking with us, or like you get the hell out of here, and they call it running you off. So they're gonna run you off. So, and even like one of my friends, he did it before. So he told me about it. He's like, yo, you can't play around. Like you have to like work like so hard. So for me, I would just come and I would just put my head down and I would just grind so hard because they don't need a reason. They could just fire you any time.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, but what made you stay? I mean, it's one of the hardest jobs. You had already made some money, presumably at the beginning. You had London as an option. You had Toronto as an option because some of your friends were here. You could go to Vancouver or to the city. Dude, you have to have like a mental toughness or a chip on your shoulder or something to stay at one of the hardest, most dangerous jobs in the world.
Yeah, so in the beginning for me, I said I did it on and off, right? So in the beginning for me, it was all about the money. So in the beginning, like, I was weak. I was soft. There's so many things I look back at, I'm like, damn, man, I was so like soft.
Mentally or physically?
Both. But at the end, it really comes down to mentally, because your mental is what's going to determine your physical. So yeah, in the beginning, I was so weak, I was soft, everything, and it was just all about the money. I'm just like, oh my God, this hour I'm getting paid this much. Just like I was just counting the hours like all the time, And then I did it. I made some money. I stopped, right? And I went back home and I was chilling. I told you I was a guy that I know how to chill. If you want to know someone that knows how to chill, I know how to chill. Okay, so I'd go home, I would chill, and I had like I banked a lot of money because when you're there, you don't spend anything. They give you somewhere to stay.
What do you do for fun?
Sleep.
Oh, you're good at sleeping too.
Yeah,
right?
so you work for 12 hours, you travel for like an hour, you have to eat, and then you have like maybe 2-3 hours where you're gonna call people. But when I told you I was weak when I first started, so I needed to sleep. So I would sleep. And then later on there came a time where this was when I was even about to move to Toronto. And at this time, I had been there for probably like 3-4 years. I was getting a lot stronger physically, stronger mentally. I understood the job. And at that time, that was when I was like, they asked me to stay. And I was like, nah, man, I want to go to Toronto. But I'm like, you know what? Like, so many times I've left and I had to go back. This time I'm going to stay for like another extra year. I stayed a year longer than I planned.
What?
And I banked. And then I remember when I got to Toronto and I have a rig bag. So like a rig bag is like, you got your boots in there. You got like all the stuff that you need. This is like at least $1,000 because you have to get good stuff. Otherwise you're going to get dominated. It happened to me when I first started. But anyways, I remember I put this bag down and that was like my safety net, right? I put the bag down and I'm like, my goal is to never have to use this bag again. That was my goal. And a year later I moved out of there and I think I left it in the locker and I was just like, forget it. I'm done. And then
You're never going back.
I never looked back since then.
That is incredible. At the beginning of the pandemic, or in the first months, the George Floyd thing happened, which is obviously extremely sad. And in Continual Growth, you and Stir did a podcast episode or two where you spoke up about many things that you guys hadn't talked about or that you've gone through, but you hadn't really shared through the podcast or to a wider audience. And there was something that struck me. I shared that episode with a bunch of people because when you come to Canada, at least my experience, even as an immigrant in Toronto, very diverse, multicultural, I have rarely experienced racism, maybe not to my face. But when I heard the story about you and the Rigs and that song, I was shocked, man. Could you share it?
Yeah, so one thing, so in Toronto, Canada as a whole is whatever, but Toronto is very, very multicultural, and I feel like as you start to know more different, like if I'm black and I know Latino people and I'm around Latino people all the time, I can't be racist to them because you start knowing them and you start realizing like we're the same. Yeah, we have differences, we have things that are different about us, but at the end of the day, we're the same. So now you go to the Rigs, right? And this is like the majority of them is just white guys who's from like a really small town and they just know other white guys and they love hunting. Like they hunt and they drink and they chew tobacco and they get the money on the rigs and they have big ass trucks. That's like a definition or a stereotype of like a rig pig. And even the whole time I was there, you rarely ever see a black person. You rarely see people of color. Anytime it's like a trucker would come in and I'll see a black guy, like, oh my man, what's up? Like you always wait to him. He's gonna say what up back because it's so rare to find someone of color out there.
When I first came to U of T, there were barely any Latinos. If I heard Spanish, I would just run, hug, and kiss whoever it was. Man, it was you just want to see some of your people. Anyone who spoke Spanish was my brother or sister. Yeah, just because it's like it's different to relate. Like so you learn how they operate, but they don't really know how you and your people operate, right? So basically you're working with these guys for a long time, and even just getting in the door, you're like, all right, I have to make sure I'm on point with everything, because just being black and just being like the way I am, I already have there's already a reason to get this guy out of here. He's not the same as us. Yeah. So that was one of my biggest motivations to just to work extra hard. But
At the end of the day, you're around these guys all the time. They
Yeah.
start learning about you, start learning about them. You become cool with each other. And this guy, I'm gonna tell the story about, like, I think I was the second black person he'd ever met. He grew up in a town of there was one person he was half black, like his mom was black and his dad was white, something like that. I feel really sorry for him after, like, finding out about just, like, everything that's, like, he just tells me stuff in their town and whatnot. But there was one day where me and someone, we had to choose, like, who gets the donut, who gets the last donut or something like that. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Boom, I get the donut. Thanks, and I'm happy, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I see the guy, like, kind of peering over my shoulder, like, looking at me with, like, a smile and whatnot. I'm like, what are you looking at, man? He's like, that's not how we sing it. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, that's not how we sing it. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's
the
song.
I'm like, that's the song. He's like, no, I've never heard that version before. I'm like, so, like, what's different? He's like, it's like that, but we don't say tiger. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized, like, instead of saying catch a tiger by the toe, they say catch a nigger by the toe.
Oh my god.
And that's their life. He's 40. This guy was 40 at the time. So I'm like, you've been doing that all your life. That means all your friends probably do the exact same
childhood,
thing. That's it. When you're a kid, that's how you decide, like, who gets something. Catch a nigger by the toe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And you think, like, I personally don't think that people are born evil or born racist, but you listen to it from your parents or from your grandparents and from the community, and you fucking sing the song like that. It is fucking incredible. Mm-hmm. And did you feel like by them hanging out with you, they were, like, more cool with it? Did you notice any change?
For sure. You can tell, like, as they start to get to know me, like I told you, like, you start realizing, like, everybody's the same. Yeah, we have differences and we do things differently, but at the end of the day, like, at the root of everything, we're all the same.
We're the same.
Yeah.
And so you spent 5 to 6 years in the rigs on and off.
Yeah, like 5 years on and off. The last time I went, it was, like, probably 2 years straight. But that one was, like, it was the best rig I've been on. The best guys. It was good. And I was moving up at this time, so I had an easier job. I didn't get so dirty.
And then what do you think was the biggest takeaway from you at the rigs? Obviously, maybe discipline. One of the things that you've told me in the past is that, what is it? That growth comes through pain, or pain builds discipline, or what was it?
Pain builds strength for sure.
Pain builds strength, yeah.
I would say for sure the biggest thing I learned from it is discipline and work ethic for sure. Like, no one works harder than, like, rig guys. The one thing I can give them for sure is, like, you work hard, like, hard work. Like, you learn how to work hard, and it's 12 hours a day, and you're on your feet, like, you're moving, like, so now, like, there's never a day where I can complain and be like, oh my god, that day was so hard, that day was so long, because, like, I've done 12 hours every single day. Like, now, you don't get to see your family, you don't get to see your friends, like, you don't do anything except for just work. Like, so if I have to work 12 hours now, at least at the end of the day, I get to go home to my own bed.
Yeah.
I can, like, I have friends who are close. I can get arepas. I can, like, you're in civilization still. When you're out there, you're like you're in the wilderness. You're in the middle of nowhere. Like, you go to, like, the smallest city ever that has, like,
a pub,
3,000 people. Yeah, maybe a pub, and then you drive 1 hour from there, and that's where the rig is. They take a forest, they cut down a bunch of trees, and then everything is just set up on generators.
What do you mean generators?
Generators, like, there's no, like, the electricity is, like, the electricity is, like, built. It's built there. So you're, like, in, like, there's no, like, how, like, electric wires come to the house? We don't have that. Everything is, like, goes off of generators. So there's, like, gas, and there's, like, there's machines that create the power.
Wow.
It's portable. You move all the time too, so everything is portable.
You can tell I wouldn't survive there for half a day.
Yeah, most people would not survive. Honestly, I don't know how I survived. I just really wanted it.
I think you adapt.
But yeah, it's very, very, very high turnover. I've seen a lot of people come and go. You get fired like that.
So before Bwanka goes to the rigs, not a lot of things motivated you. Maybe fitness, basketball, a little bit. You go to the rigs. You learn a lot of discipline. You learn how to be by yourself. You overcome one of the biggest challenges of your life, which is one of the hardest jobs in the world and most dangerous. And then you come back to Toronto. That's where I met you around 2015 at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then around that time in 2017, you start Continual Growth.
Mm-hmm.
But
my bad to cut you off, but one thing that I really got out of what you just said is you learn how to be by yourself. I never really realized that until you just said it, but every time you go there, you have to travel, like flying on the plane, you go there, everything you're doing is by yourself, and I never realized that until now.
It's incredible what that does. I don't think I ever realized it, but as you know, well, my parents got divorced when I was 6, so I lived with my mom or with my dad, but they were in different countries. So I had to travel a lot, be by myself on airplanes, be by myself. And then I went to live to El Salvador, then to Mexico, and then at age 15, I went to boarding school. So I was by myself. I mean, I had a great life. I had a lot of friends. I was getting a great education, but I still by myself, not with my family, not with my friends from back home. And I had to travel a lot, change environments a lot. And then when university hit at U of T in 2006, that's where I realized that I had an advantage from all the other people, because the majority of the people who I was in residence with or first year, they got crazy their first year. Like, freedom, I can do drugs, I can alcohol, I can jack off all day. And they got insane. Oh, man, I don't know how many people dropped out, like failed so many courses. People who had killed it in high school because, well, for many reasons, but mainly because you live at home, somebody cooks your food, your laundry. I mean, I'm not saying at boarding school I still got that, but I had been by myself for many years already, and to me having that sort of freedom or being by myself wasn't anything new, so I had already built that discipline that I needed to never fail a course in university and graduate in 4 years, which so many of the people who started with me didn't. So I think that is super important to learn how to be by yourself, because having that self-awareness of how you react in different environments is key. And I think that's where there was a point of inflection for you. See how I'm using very complicated terms, so people hearing this think, oh my god, this guy's very intelligent.
Stephan Dyer Podcast.
Oh my god, this guy must have a PhD in podcasting with those words. And then you start Continual Growth in 2017, and I remember, I think Z mentioned it in an episode, or that you'd worked on yourself over a couple of years in many ways. You had taught yourself how to play the piano, swimming, you were learning French, you were just doing meditating, journaling, you read really slow before, and then you learned how to read faster, and then because you were killing it in so many ways, trying these things by yourself, then you got together with Stir, Carlito, Z, and your team, and you were like, why don't we share these things and this journey with others? So how did Continual Growth start?
Yeah, so I mean, it started basically like we started working on ourselves. Like there was a bunch of us, and me, Z, Carlito, Stir, everything you just said, we were working on ourselves. And there came a time where it was just like, you know what, like we need to share this with other people. If we're just keeping this to ourselves, that's selfish. And we had tools that we were using. But there was no we didn't have the boards yet, so we were just it was initial stages, right? So we're using them, and I remember Z's actually the one who named it. We were talking one time, and
He went on a rant.
and no,
like
no,
Z
no.
does.
He was just listening. He's listening. He's like, so like, what is it? And we're talking about it, and he's like, so it's continual growth, and I'm like, continual growth. That's sick. And then we went and we looked it up.
Tell me Z said sick, bro.
Oh, for sure. So we looked it up and we saw like, okay, the continual growth. The name is not taken. Then we created. We're like, okay, let's start it. We started the podcast. I remember we to make the symbol. This is all goes to like Carlito right here. So we're telling him what it is. And I remember he brought the first one to us, the first symbol. And I'm like, I don't like it. Z didn't like it either. And then he brought another one to us. So like, this one's even worse than the last one. And then it was crazy. Those are like maybe like 4s. And then he came with like the continual growth logo we have now.
Logo.
15 out of 10. I give it a 15 out of 10. I'm like, how did you do that? Carlito, this guy is the king of design. I tell him anything he touches, it turns to gold.
He's the King Midas of design.
King Midas. I don't even know what that means, but let's
King
run
Midas
with it.
is everything he touches turns to gold.
Okay, King Midas. That's what it is then. He's the King Midas of design.
and then you start growing. I remember the first time Carlito came to me with the board, and I was like, so the board for those people listening is a 21s board where you pick something to accomplish and you're going to do it for 21 straight days, which is what makes a habit.
Yeah, my bad. Let me interrupt you here. So basically, there was different things that I had done throughout my life, for a long period of time. One of them was like push-ups. I was just like, every day I'm gonna do like 50 push-ups, and I did that for a really long time. I used to drink. I used to be partier, like partier,
bottles.
and there was one year January 1st came and I said, you know what? I'm only gonna go out and drink one night in the week. That's the maximum that I can do. And everybody's like, what, one night in a week? That's not even, what's so special about that? But this is the small steps that I told you about. And I said, I'm going to do this until June because I love the summertime. Turn up in the summer. So I said, I'm going to do this until the summertime. And, I stuck with it. And then a hard time came where it was like, I think it was my birthday or something. I went out on Friday. And then Saturday came and the boys were like, all right, Saturday is here. We didn't go out yesterday. Bwanka, we need you. Like, we're going out. And I'm like, nope, I'm not in. And they're like, what do you mean you're not in? You're in. Come on, it's Saturday. You have to come. And I'm like, nope, I'm not coming. And that was like the tipping point. Once I did that, it was easy to make it to June. And from June, I stuck with it. And now I don't turn up so much anymore. But
but I think that's huge because once you have clear goals, which you taught me through the continual growth, I have life goals and then I have yearly goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's super easy to say no, because
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't fall within your goals, then it's a hard no. It's easy.
Yeah.
And maybe you can have a goal of having fun with my friends 3 times a week, and maybe then you say yes. But if you come with me and you're like, hey man, let's go do a scuba diving course in Belize, and I'm like, well, dude, no, because I have other priorities. But if maybe meeting a new place, like visiting a new place every year is one of my goals, then yeah, maybe that falls. But the thing is, we forget what we really want because we don't write it down. So once you've made the decision of what you actually want and you write it down and you have the goals, it's easier to say no.
Oh, for sure. And then even coming back to the 21 system, those were just like preliminary things. So yeah. I started listening to E.T. So there came a time.
Who is E.T.?
Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. If you don't know about him, find out about him. He says you probably heard him, and he says like, when you want to breathe as bad as you want to succeed, then you'll be, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. It's like, a lot of people have heard it. He's very motivational. But I started listening to him like every day. And this was when I was like, I want more from my life. And I started listening to him, and he's like, you got to do all these things. You got to be hungrier. You got to put in more work. And then he talked about 21 days. And he's like, if you do something for 21 days, it's going to become a habit. And I thought about it. I'm like, okay, what if I created 10 new habits in my life? And I started naming them out, just like reading, meditating, journaling, learning piano. One of the biggest ones was speaking. Speaking was one of the biggest ones. And I said, okay, I'll commit to this. And I had already had the discipline and whatever. I said, I'll commit to this. So the first thing I started with was meditation because I couldn't focus.
Didn't you go like 1,500 days straight of meditation?
I almost got 1,000. I think I was at like 980 or something like that, and I missed a day. But that was the first, that was the 21. That 21 carried on for like the first 3 weeks. I kept fucking up every time. Like I wasn't good in the beginning, but I made it, and then once I got to the 21 days, I kept going, and I did almost 1,000 days. That was the base of the 21 system. And then it became like, okay, reading. And then I started reading all these books because I would just read like 30 minutes a day, and it compound effect.
Oh, and you told me too,
it turns into so much.
That in your workouts, you recommended that I should read when I'm working out through audiobooks.
Yeah, read, listen to podcasts. So a lot of times, like we listen to music and we just listen to music just because, we have time to listen to music. I mean, some people need music to work out if it's really like, but for me, I'm just like, I'm going to the gym. Like I'm going to take care of my body. I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm like, I don't need to listen to music. I can listen to something that's going to help me. Because I told you, like, I was terrible in school, so I didn't have the skills.
Yeah.
I didn't have the skills. That was the biggest thing, was I needed to get the skills to be able to help me in life, so I didn't have to go back to the rigs.
Oh, I love that. And then, you basically did continual growth. You continue to coach people, and then in 2018, this is a fun fact and a true fact, by the way, Bwanka finished all his realtor exams in like 4 hours. 19 realtor exams in 4 hours, broke the record. No, but you did like your all your realtor exams before it became like a serious study, like a program, like you had to go to school for it.
Yeah, so before you could just sign it. There's 5 exams you have to do. You have like 2 years to do the whole thing. But you can also do it as fast as you want, and I did it fast. I said turbo, let's go.
Like your 6 a.m. run.
Like my 6 a.m. run. I turned it on. I think I finished all 5 exams within like it was within 75 days. So less than 3 months. I counted at the end. I studied 71 out of 75 days. I just really wanted it. I really wanted it, and I wanted to move fast on it and get started. And that's what happened. I worked with my coach Stir. We put a study program together. I had to go different places. I had to go to London to do tests. I had to go somewhere else to do tests because you have to book, and there's only like certain tests at certain times. But I was like,
one of the tests was only available in Mongolia. You flew there, did it, came back, dude. What an incredible journey, because I think it's specific moments. There's a part of us that shifts slowly, but I think there's specific moments. That no to the boys to go drinking, maybe there was a couple of points in your rigs journey.
Oh, there was days I wanted to quit. Many cold. That's where it always came down to. You're wet and you're cold. That was the roughest time. But those are the days where you're like, why am I doing this? Should I be here? I still have 7 more hours in this shift. I've been here for like 5 hours. I'm dead already. I'm starving. I want food. I want water. Like, and you're just thinking about quitting, but you're just like, let me just make it to the end of the day.
Did you ever imagine that after not doing well in high school, like dropping out of college, you even went to firefighter school for a year, then didn't follow through with it. Then you did the gym, you did continual growth, you passed your real estate exams in 71 days. Did you ever imagine that throughout all of this that you would be invited to the Stephan Dyer Podcast?
Never.
Oh man, what a legend, Bwanka. I'm gonna close off this unbreakable, unmistakable interview with the champagne question, which is a tradition in my life. if we were to meet a year from now with a bottle of champagne, what are we celebrating in Bwanka's life?
It's good you added Bwanka's life, because last time you asked me that question, I said we're gonna be celebrating baby Liam.
Yes. And now he's here screaming his lungs out.
Yeah. So no, celebrating in Bwanka's life a year from now. I mean, at the end of the day, back I used to be very, very like influenced by money, material things like that. But now it's I want enjoyment and I want love. Those are the two biggest things that I want from my life. So I really just look to strengthen my relationships with friends, with family. So a year from now we'd be celebrating with a bottle of champagne, just having a better relationship with my family.
I love it. Thank you, Bwanka, the main man. Always a pleasure, brother.
Okay, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Bless up.
Bless up.
Gracias por escuchar el Stephan Dyer Podcast. Arrivederci, my people.